Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bowcro PvP build guide. I wanted to make this video literally for years, but never made it, despite me collecting footage, writing scripts, and making thumbnails for this video. I think the main problem with it was that this build was always kinda work in progress. And to be honest, it still is. Bowcro isn't the easiest build to make, and whenever I was making it, it was always unclear to me what sets to go for, or what skills even, because Bowcro or Crow in general has probably the least bar space of all classes in my opinion. And this problem still persists for me to this day with this build. But this time I'll make this video anyway. I encourage you to take it as a base and then work around it as you want, because I myself still doing it as well. Also, one really important note is that this build isn't the best unkillable god mod meta you can do now. You definitely can cook on this build, but don't expect this to be the same level as Nightblade, Warden, Templar subclassing meta with like Null Arca, Rallying Cry and all that stuff. But I was actually having fun on this build, playing MGs in recent deathmatch. It was doing pretty well, to be honest. Like, the builds I post here, some of them might not be the most meta, but they're still decent and fun. And at least for me, it's the most important thing in PvP. Anyway, let's jump into the video. As my main damage set on this build, I'm using Venomous Smite. When you deal critical damage, you proc poison damage on the enemy for 10 seconds. Damage is fairly high, it's also AoE, but the downside to this set that it can be cleansed and you can't proc it right away. I was also trying out Sheer Venom, but for that you need Poison Arrow, and with the bar space on this build, I would rather use Knockback than a dot. You can use both, to be honest, but for that you'll have to use crit and damage potions instead of Tri-Stat. Or you will have to drop Camo Hunter, which might be actually a better idea. More about it later. So you can use Venomous Smite like I did here. Sheer Venom is also a very good option, might be actually better than Venomous Smite, if you have a space for Poison Arrow to proc it. Scavenging Demise is also a good choice, and of course Null Arca if you want to have the best damage. But it's just boring for me to use it on every build, so I've decided to try out something else. My next set here is Rallying Cry, mainly for defense. We don't really need more sustain, and I don't want second damage set because I need defense on this build as well, so Rallying Cry is the best option here in my opinion. Then I'm using Chudan to save myself a skill slot. On this build, bar space is insanely bad, so any skill saved is a blessing. If you will get Major Resolve from somewhere else, then you can easily replace Chudan for One Piece Trainee and Mythic, which would probably be a better option than just another monster set. And finally, I've decided to try out VBRP Bow. Since I'm already using Magnum Shot for knockback, why not benefit from it even more by using Black Rose Bow? What it does is every time you use any morph of Scatter Shot, you deal 65% of initial damage as damage over time every 2 seconds for 4 seconds, and duration is increased the farther you away from the enemy, up to 12 seconds. So basically you have a dot proc set on 2-piece arena weapon. Let's say I fire Magnum Shot, which will deal 5.4k damage, 65% of it will be like 3.5k damage, and it will tick every 2 seconds. Not bad if you ask me. If you don't want to use VBRP Bow, you can use One Piece Trainee and Mythic instead. It can be Markin, Monomyth, Sentence Seducer, Sea Serpent's Coil, Dabdir's Feet, any Mythic you want. Now to the skills. On the backbar I'm using Healing Soul with Healing, Class Mastery and Vitality scripts, Mortal Coil for OP healing over time and sustain, Vigor for minor resolve, Spirit Mender for heal over time and 10% damage mitigation, Elisas for major breach, and Temporal Guard as my ultimate. On the front bar I'm using Magnum Shot for knockback and to proc VBRP Bow, Camo Hunter for Savagery and Prophecy. Just recently I started doubting the need of it, to be honest, because although my crit chance is high, my crit damage is low. So right now I'm trying out different options here, such as Poison Arrow, or you can also do Race Against Time for CC immunity. Lethal Arrow or Focused Aim as my spammable. Lethal Arrow deals more damage, gives poison status effect and minor defile. Focused Aim gives minor breach, which grants us around 3k penetration. I think Lethal Arrow is better, especially if you use Stun Restoration Glyph on your backbar instead of weapon damage. Other good option here is Crushing Weapon. If you'll use it, you can drop Elisas and use Race Against Time for minor force, speed and CC immunity instead of it. Crushing Weapon deals less damage than Lethal Arrow and it's heavier on stun sustain. But it's faster, you can't be interrupted while casting it, and you can proc Psijic damage passive, which is also nice. Overall I think Snipe is better, however it comes with its disadvantages. Blast Bones as our semi-spammable, it deals a lot of damage and debuffs our enemies with major defile. Degeneration for major brutality and sorcery, you can also use Archer here if you'd like, and finally for my ultimate I'm using either Dawnbreaker or Colossus. Bow ultimate also would be a good choice. There isn't really a combo for this build, but in a way it's Blast Bones into Snipe into Magnum Shot, and then ult if you have it. Be sure your Mortal Coil and Spirit Mender are always up, because those are really strong kills. Other than that, just stay alive and do whatever, try to have fun. That's the most important thing. For subclassing, I'm using Decay's Ardent Flame, and I'm using it mostly for poison passives. I don't use any skills from it because there is not a lot of stuff I can use, unless I'll be going melee. In that case, I would suggest using either Venomous Claw or Noxious Breath. You can use Flames of Oblivion even now to be honest, instead of Chema Hunter, but I was just playing with Chema Hunter. You can use something way stronger here, such as Bow Proc, Templar Javelin, Shulks, or whatever else is absolutely OP right now. But same as with Nularka, I just don't want to use it on every build. And that's about it for now. I always liked Bowcro, and it's a good variety from what I usually play. Hopefully it can be the same for you. Be sure to give it a try and have fun. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye.